Hi, welcome to Liverpool City Region Creating Careers. On today's session, we've got Chris Kennedy, the founder of Hack School. Hi, Chris, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Leslie.
It's great to have you today. So just a quick rundown of what we're going to do on today's session. So for the first part, we're going to interview Chris. He's going to tell us all about Hack School and everything they have to offer. Then he's going to do a virtual tour of his studio and show all the great tech that he's got to showcase, and then we'll follow up with a live Q&A session, and that is your chance to get involved with that part of the session. So if you do have any questions, pop them in the Q&A box on your screen. Okay, and as a reminder, as with all sessions throughout Creating Careers, we have student pre-work resources for you to download, complete the tasks, and that will help you to be as prepared as possible for the session and ask Chris the best questions that you can think of. Okay, so Chris, to start off, tell us about Hack School. What is it? What services do you offer?
Okay, Hack School comes from an idea that I had. Well, I set up the business about a month before COVID happens, which is brilliant timing. But the initial idea I had is, and to give you a bit of background on me, I've been a software developer for 20 years, and there was an element of me wanting to do something different, even though I still like coding. And part of the idea came from I was messing around doing a lot of YouTube and just playing around with cameras and things like that, just as a hobby. And I really like YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, which is kind of unusual for someone of my age. And as I was learning this and watching like vloggers like Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon and people of that kind of nature, I began to, look at the tech and look at what you were doing and think, why can't we turn this into sort of like a way of teaching digital skills? Because if you think of all the skills you need to be a YouTuber or an Instagrammer, or a lot of those skills, the video editing, the lighting, the performance in front of the camera, there's a real sort of like jack of all trades kind of thing, but also sort of like the business aspect to it as well. It's like, you've got to understand the analytics, you've got to understand how to sort of like hustle and network online. And those skills are very, very transferable to a lot of the sort of like small businesses and sometimes bigger businesses who would want LinkedIn videos and would want Facebook adverts and would want explainer videos and so on and so forth. So the idea I came up with was, can we turn that into an educational technique? And can I do courses both for the private sector, which would be sort of like how do you present online and so on and so forth, but also do more fun things which are much more around gaming, much more around YouTube, and sort of like try to find ways of making them relevant to businesses, and also do something that has a real creative element to it as well, because I think it's very easy to see tech and things like drama or art as quite separate, whereas in this world they're actually all part of the same thing. There's a lot of a jack of all trades quality to it.
Yeah, and I suppose, especially these days, young people, see YouTube becoming a YouTuber as a real career aspiration, don't they? So I suppose there's a big demand for what you're offering in that sense. What about your wider team? Do you have more employees at Hack School?
Yeah, well, I've got Reese, who you kind of seen on the website, who you've met. Now he's in Salford Uni at the moment, but he'll be working part time when things sort of like calm down a little bit there. And I'm taking some Kickstarters on at the moment, who are going to be, when that scheme starts. So they're on work experience at the moment until the scheme kicks in, and they're working upstairs. So I've got Kiana, who's going to be mainly doing the social media at first. And then I've got Jodie, who's going to be doing motion graphics, which is kind of like animation. So she's going to be doing things like, if you've ever seen those kind of adverts where the text kind of flies across, or those, those kind of explainer adverts where somebody will come on the screen and it'll all be like an animated cartoon. So she'll be doing that kind of animation. And Kiana will be doing sort of like Instagram marketing and things like that, because, young people don't use things like Facebook.
So you said earlier at the beginning that you set up your business just before, we came into the COVID pandemic. So I suppose then, how did that? I suppose you have nothing to compare it to, but how do you think that affected you setting the business up?
It was interesting because I set the business up as what's called a social enterprise. So it's a kind of you are there to make a profit, but your profits actually go back to the community, but you can't put yourself on a decent wage because, you know, it's a business and I'm running a software business, you know, so I'm entitled to earn a decent wage, but the profits go into reinvested back into the community. Now, one of the things with that sector is in the middle of a pandemic, it's very difficult to find out information because I didn't really know anybody in there. The councils and a lot of those groups are all sort of like in chaos at that particular point. So I was kind of stuck there in basically a big office that I was renting out in the middle of a town that was in lockdown, that was completely empty. The building was completely empty. It was like, you've ever seen that film I Am Legend with Will Smith? Where he's just wandering through this empty apocalyptic landscape. Yeah, that was me in St. Helens. So I used to walk into work every morning and I was thinking, well, I don't know anyone. I'm kind of a little bit not in a good place. So I had to think, well, you know, I'm going to have to innovate my way out of it. So I had this initial idea and I kind of sort of like worked at it and turned it into something a little bit more put together. So I got a volunteer in Finn, who unfortunately is ill at the moment, but as soon as she's better, she's going to be on the Kickstart scheme. And then I eventually employed Reese, and it was just basically working through ideas and thinking, well, what are the barriers to kids becoming YouTubers and things like that, and having a go with themselves, because I thought that would tell me a lot more about turning it into an educational idea. And I learned a lot along that way of just sort of like, and Leslie will tell you, you know, I've given some of their team a bit of coaching about just the little things that you learn about standing in front of a camera and how you edit it and how they do it on YouTube, so on and so forth. And but also that the thing that you learn is one of the biggest barriers isn't the tech. It's the confidence. It's standing in front of a camera. You know, that's quite nerve-wracking, even if it's a very small audience. And the other big barrier is getting an audience. It's very hard to get an audience on YouTube. You put 2 or 3 videos up there, and nobody watches it. It's easy to get discouraged. So they were some of the things I found out from that, of how during that sitting in a room on my own, being Will Smith, sort of with but basically thinking no one's going to help me. I've got to figure this out for myself. And that's a lot of the stuff that came out of it. But fortunately, once things started like stabilizing a little bit, I built up some great relationships, particularly with St. Helens Council. And you know, I think there's a long way we can go with this. I think it's just the beginning.
That sounds great. So before we get on to the studio tour, just one more question. Tell us about your earlier career. How did you get into software development?
Well, I'm a completely self-taught programmer, and that's not unusual in software in particular. It's a fairly unusual thing, and I did a history degree, a little bit like Leslie Ann, Leslie Ann, yes. So I can tell you all about collectivization during the Soviet period. And I can tell you a lot about industrialization as well, which is handy to know. I really liked history, but I kind of messed around for a while, didn't become a teacher. And I had to go at web design I did a bit of a course and got bored, wandered off, and then carried on messing around with it. And sort of talked my way into a job. And but I would kind of find myself quite interested in what this guy who was sitting next to me was doing with the coding. So I badgered him to let me do it. And he didn't want me to do it because he had a sneaking suspicion I would be better than him at it. And he was right. Never forget that guy. But anyway, so I badgered them, and they didn't have anyone to help. And they let me kind of do little bits of code. And I knew I had to prove myself because that guy didn't really want me to do it, because it's a long story, but there were bonuses involved. So there was a little bit of a barrier there. And but like I plugged away at it. I actually did some Microsoft qualifications, some professional qualifications, more to sort of like show to the managers, because you know they that sort of like showed them a level of commitment and something that they could tangibly see. And so I just plugged away at it. I did that for kind of a year in that place, and then started working somewhere else. And gradually you move your way up the ladder, you get more experience, you build confidence. You know, a lot of the key thing that people find worrying in programming, or particularly, well, most careers really, is you walk into a room and everybody seems to know what they're doing. You're just sitting there running through your head going, oh my God, I look an idiot, which isn't, you know, it's like the reality is nobody really cares. You know, as long as if you don't draw attention to the fact that you're slightly panicking, you'll probably be all right, unless you're really inept at your job. So you know, I mean, that's a real lesson to kind of learn from that. Just keep plugging away at it and don't let on that you're sort of like really winging it. And so it kind of went from there. So I was self-taught, and yeah, within within a year, nobody really asks about your qualifications anyway. And software is very unusual in the sense that it's very learn by doing, and it's very, very sort of experience based, and you're basically judged on code. And the simple matter is that if you interview software people, and you want to find out whether they're any good at software, you ask them to design some software in the interview. It really is as simple as that. So it's a bit of an unusual career, but teaching yourself is in that kind of way can be very hard. It can be very daunting, and you can give up quite easily without just that little bit of support around you. So one of the things that I was chatting to Leslie about, one way in that's a little less daunting but still keeps that kind of hobbyist kind of angle, some of the kind of boot camp kind of courses which City Region are starting to run. They're like the pilot scheme apparently for the government's thing, and they're much more industry focused, fast paced. 3 months, you're in, you're out, and if you can do it, you can do it, and if you can't, you can't. And I would say if you want a middle ground sort of like educational experience that gets you into those what I call higher tech skills, where it's your full-time job rather than social media, which can sometimes be just part of a wider job. If you're going to go into those sort of like higher tech skills, for want of a better word, I think digital boot camps are definitely an option, and will probably just grow.
So just to clarify for people watching, because I know when we've had conversations before, I've thought to myself, what actually is coding? Now, am I right in thinking coding is inputting language to a computer so it does what you want it to do?
Yes, you tell a computer what to do line by line, what to do, and the computer goes away. But that brings up an interesting point, because most programmers are often they're very focused on the detail of the code, and when you're focused on thinking about the world in absolutely minute detail, one of the big problems that you have, and this is where we get onto things like soft skills, is that the people around you, who could be managers, who could be customers, who could be marketing people, they don't think like that. So you as a programmer have got to sort of like have the empathy, the soft skills, the ability to understand those people and translate what they're saying into those lines. And that's really hard for most programmers to do, because you get so focused on those very sort of like minute instructions. And that's why it's really important in a software career to have good people skills. You've got to be good at listening, which is anyone will tell you who knows me. I'm not brilliant at, but you've got to be able to speak to the client. You've got to be able to speak to the wider people. Otherwise, you end up designing software that nobody wants, that you thought they wanted, and you lose money and you go out of business. So those people skills are really, really important, and the ability to understand those vague instructions from I just wanted to do this, and you've got to translate that into minute lines. So part of your job is to sort of like is to either communicate to the person who speaks to the person who speaks to the person, or in some cases just communicate directly to the customer.
Sounds very interesting. So could we move on to the studio tour part of the session?
We certainly can. We certainly can. So what I've done, I'm going to change the microphone from the Zoom to the headset. So you just bear with me. Audio, and let's put me on. Right, so you hear that?
We can.
Okay, so let's get us over onto the iPhone. And for those of you who are gamers at home, I'm actually using a piece of software called OBS, which most of you will probably be familiar with if you do streaming. So let's get us over onto this. So can you see the office?
We can.
Right. Okay, so this is kind of the equipment that I kind of use for this particular setup. So we've got my laptop here. We've just got a regular sort of like USB mic. It's a Blue Yeti. It's a very popular kind of mic at that sort of like entry level, about £100.
Yeah.
Some cameras here. I use DSLR cameras. I use Canon ones. So if any of you are Casey Neistat fans, Casey Neistat did most of his videos on a Canon 70D, which is a lot like these. So if you look at the results that guy gets, he gets it on a camera that probably costs about £350 plus lenses. So, it's not a small amount of money, but it's not a massive amount of money when you compare it to a guitar. That one's like a switcher, so you can kind of switch from cameras, but it didn't bother doing that. And these are some of the lights. An important part of getting people to look good on camera
is using the right lighting. So if you want to use these kind of soft lights with these kind of these sort of like, they're called diffusers, and they create a nice soft image and make you look good in the studio, because that's kind of important. Nobody wants to look like sort of 107. This is kind of the rest of the studio that we're not kind of currently using at this moment, and various bits and bobs. And then what I'll do is I'll take you upstairs. This actual bit, which I'm most proud of, is these are like studio flats. So they're like those things that you see in a studio. So they're kind of like wood. So I don't know whether you can see around the back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they're those like things that they have in a studio. Right? My dad built them. He's like 76. So I got him to build those huge studio flats, because basically I can't change a plug. Good with the ones and zeros, not so good with wires. So just going upstairs, my office. Now I'm going to get some floor tiles at some point, but I haven't got the money for that at the moment, so I'm just going to have to wait. This is the vocal booth that Reese built himself. I haven't got the light switched on at the moment. So
okay. So a vocal booth, vocal booth will be for what? Recording audio for video clips?
Yeah. So it'll be kind of like, so you can do the whole podcasts.
Brilliant.
No, sorry, not podcasts, voiceovers, that kind of thing. So all of this kind of absorbs the sound, this kind of stuff. And essentially what happens is that you get that very rich kind of sound with no kind of echo in it. Because if you record in the room with loads of echo in it, just makes it sound terrible. Now I'm going to very quickly sweep the camera around. The girls get a little bit self-conscious of me waving the camera in the face. So say hello. So that's Kiana. She's going to be doing the social media at the moment.
Hi, Kiana.
Yeah, but it might be that she probably will want to move on to some more tech stuff, because she likes the video editing and stuff like that. Yeah. But I need somebody who's adaptable and can do social media quite quickly, and Kiana's been really good at that. Can't wait to take it on to be a Kickstarter. And this is Jodie, who's going to be doing some.
Hi, Jodie.
Onto that. Jodie's using a piece of software called Adobe After Effects, and she's doing a quick online course to learn how to do animation. Go on, show them an animation. Right.
Putting the pressure on, Jodie.
This girl does not know the meaning of the word pressure.
Good.
Come on, look at that animation going. Look at it. Come on, render. Oh my God, you've even got the easing going. That looks, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah, fantastic. It's my genius teaching skills. That's what it is. It's not to do with following the instructions on a course that I bought. Okay, this is the equipment room. So we've got like tons of cameras here, mainly Canon stuff. I kind of tend to use Canon, things like Gorilla Pods. We've got some pretty decent mics for kind of doing run and gun stuff, lots of mics up there. My dad will be so proud of this. I've become a lot more organized in later life. Labeled cable boxes. Come on, this is a man who's easily confused by cables. And then there's lots more stuff. There's a lot of light and stuff in here. And at some point I want to do stuff relating to music and live looping. So I've got some sort of like equipment to do that sort of thing, which will be a little bit like Ableton Live and that kind of thing. So that is the tour of the studio. I will progress downstairs.
That looks amazing. Looks absolutely brilliant. I think you're right. I think all that equipment needs to be highly organized, because it's very easy to end up with a ball of wires, even for a normal person at home, let alone a tech company.
Well, Leslie, as we know, you're far too organized for your own good.
I wish I was.
Oh, this is a woman who enjoys writing lists. Come on.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Okay, let me just put the phone back on charge, because this that sort of like that remote camera software kind of runs it down a little. Okay, so we're back on camera. We've got any jerkiness? No, we haven't.
No, we're great. So we'll move on to the Q&A session. So I know to start us off, a lot of students are going to be asking about the best pathways into tech careers. Now, I know you already touched on that in the earlier part of the interview, and also we've uploaded a supplementary document that you created for us, which gives a lot of advice and links on how to get into tech. So from that document, from what I can see, it's self-taught, boot camp or university. And there's a lot of debate that goes on around which is the best route in. So could you just talk us through that, please? And if there's any specific GCSEs or anything students should be focusing on?
Well, I'm not super knowledgeable, and this is something that I want to work more with you guys on. I don't kind of understand what some of those routes are from a school level. I kind of come at it from a more industry point of view, and part of the reason why I want to do this is because I think it's a brilliant career. I think people get a little bit put off from it, and I think some of those pathways don't join up. So that's why I want to work with you guys on this. What I would say, if we were just to go through those three paths, I would say the self-taught route is something anybody can do. You can just do it in your own bedroom, and you can just play around with whatever tech it is. It could be code, it could be Linux servers, it could be cybersecurity, although you'll probably get in trouble because you won't be very good at it at first. And that's one route you can go down, of just teaching yourself. One problem with that kind of route is you've got to find an employer, and even though you might be good at the tech, finding, building up those that confidence of approaching employers, where you can just do it on your own, which when you've done it for a while and had a job is that easy, so that is one problem with the self-taught route. You've still got to find someone who'll kind of sort of like give you that route into an employer, and if you've never done it before, that's an issue. The other thing is the bootcamp route. That's a much newer one. That's just starting to come up a lot more on stream at the moment, and that's where you do a quick 3-month course, and there'll be an element of them putting you in front of an employer for your first interview. And then the other route is the university route. Now, I'm very biased on this, so you're getting my opinion, not the growth platform's opinion or anything like this. So this is my opinion. Can we just say that again? This is my opinion, right? My opinion is university isn't a great route in a lot of ways. I think it's overpriced, and I think it doesn't tend to get great outcomes for programmers, and there's evidence to support that. There's a very high unemployment rate among programmers who've come from university, and there's a very high dropout rate. The dropout rate's about 10%. A lot of people go on these courses, find it's not for them for a variety of reasons, and drop out. There are some great university courses, and I've met some people who do those courses, and there are some not so great ones. And I think the challenge is, if you want to go down that university route, is to be able to assess what's a good course and what's not a good course. And there are also some things which lend themselves much more to a university path. So if you're going to be doing something which has maybe more mathematics in it or something like that, cryptography or something like that, or something that's got heavy amounts of stats in it, then a university route is probably going to be a much better route for you. But most programmers like me, they don't do that level of you don't need to be good at maths for most programmer, which is a bit of a misconception. I'm terrible at maths. You just don't. You have a computer to do that for you.
Yeah. But I believe from from what you've told me, you had Reese working on board with you, and he has a very much different opinion than you on university. He's actually gone. Has he started university now?
Yes, he has. I'm trying to persuade him to vlog from lockdown, and we can put it on our website. No. I mean, I actually agreed with Reese going to university. I don't think it's great value for money, but one of the things that I think someone like Reese is from a more working class background. He's the first of his family to go, and he's one of 6, so it's a fairly big family, and particularly for someone like Reese, I think that broadening your horizons, mixing with people, particularly of a different social class than you, and building up a bit of an understanding of what it's all about. Because I think one of the things with university is I think there's a big fear of missing out among young people, and there's also not a lot of alternative options to get into good jobs. So I would give Reese a bit of a stick about it, but I thought it was the right thing for him to do as well. Yeah. And not like he was going to do what I told him to anyway. He's 22 years old. He's going to, he's not going to. Yeah. No, but we debated about it a lot, and not that much, but I thought that it was the right thing for him to do as well. So it's even though I have my opinion, I actually thought Reese was right.
Yeah, I've got as you can imagine, a lot of the students are interested in YouTube. So I've got a question from a student wondering: is there much work out there for students who do want to become a YouTuber? Are there lots of career prospects for someone who wants to go down that route?
Well, I don't want to sell myself too much of an expert as being a YouTuber. My angle on it is very much this, is that you can go down a route of wanting to be a YouTuber, which is quite similar to, in many ways, well, there's a number of sort of like monetizable pathways into something like YouTube. You can become I don't know, PewDiePie, Casey Neistat, those kind of people who have millions and millions of followers, right?
Yeah.
The odds of you becoming that guy are similar to the odds of you being like, I don't know, Led Zeppelin or the Stone Roses or something like that. You know, that's like that's the equivalent of, you know, wanting a career that means you're going to become a rock star. The odds are that's not going to happen, right? But there's nothing wrong with having a go at it. But there are a lot of options for, I would say, mid-level YouTubers who do earn a living out of this kind of stuff. So say, for instance, if you're someone like, there's some guys who do courses on this called Primal Video. They have quite a big following, and they do courses which are about how you, not just from the advertising revenue from YouTube, but all the affiliation links, they do a lot of reviews of things like cameras and software and things like that. And, you know, when you click on the link to Amazon, well, you get a percentage of that. If someone buys from Amazon, you get an even bigger percentage. So there are lots of ways of sort of like, if you're very business focused, of monetizing YouTube, and many people do become successful doing that. But the reality is most don't. And it's probably even worse for something like Twitch. So, you know, you'll find that it's often, if you actually look at it on a graph, the graph looks a little bit like this, if you know what I mean. So a very small amount of people get very successful. Some people become moderately successful and do all right. Think of them as like indie bands. So they're rock stars. These are like indie bands who sort of have a couple of hits and then sort of like, you know, do small tours for the rest of their life. And everybody else is basically those people who either go for a couple of weeks and did 3 gigs and then give up. And YouTube's a bit like that. But the thing I would say about YouTube is that all those skills that you learn to be a YouTuber, they're very transferable. If you think about it, if you look at all of the, just go on LinkedIn, right? Which is a terrible, terrible platform. I call it the place where content goes to die. It's awful. But a lot of business people go on there, and that's how they promote and that's how they network. Same with Facebook. Facebook isn't the coolest platform in the world, but people like your mum and dad are on it, and they click on an awful lot of adverts. So these are real markets for sort of like video orientated sort of like marketing and social media. So it is so yes, you can have a go at becoming a YouTuber. You will probably fail, just as I failed to become the rock star I wanted to be. But you can end up doing a creative job which is well paid, where you get to use a lot of that, and you may end up having a bit of a side hustle which is quite creative, that might turn into something that means you can quit the day job. Might not be, you know, earning £1 million a year, but it might be something that can pay the bills. So that's the way I would approach it.
So I know in the pre-work that we set, and you the supplementary guide that you wrote for us, that it's all uploaded onto our website. I know you talk about how school was important to you for developing soft skills, you know, like interpersonal skills that are much needed in these kinds of roles. But I've got a question in here about what specific skills do coders need? If someone's at home, they want to become a coder, what are the specific skills that they need?
Are we talking hard skills or soft skills?
I'd go for hard skills first of all.
What I would look at with hard skills is I wouldn't get obsessed about having a shopping list of technology. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, in fact, I wouldn't focus on technology at all in that sense. What I mean is that if you're going to have a career as a coder in those, what I call them higher tech, I don't mean it that one job's harder than the other. It's just that all of your job is just hard tech.
Yeah.
If you're going to go down that kind of route, you have to be good at teaching yourself. I mean, that's the reality of it. It changes so quickly that nobody's going to hold your hand and do it. And that's just the reality of software companies. So if you don't like learning for its own sake, and you just don't have a passion for it, and most coders do, you know, there's an element of like all of the technology I learned. You know, the reality is there's not a lot of training on the job. What tends to happen is you do it in your own time because there's a cool technology you want to tinker around with, right? That's it. It's like a hobby. Some people it's Meccano sets and things like that. Other people it's sort of like doing things with, I don't know, sort of like whatever cool technologies out with SQL Server or something like that. And you teach yourself those skills at home a lot of the time, particularly when you're in your 20s and you can afford to do it. You don't have a family, and you use that to promote yourself in work, and you use that as kind of like professional development. So if you're thinking about it more in terms of what skills do I need, you need the skills to be able to do that. And that doesn't necessarily mean having a shopping list of tech. That means being the kind of person who has a go and fails, has a go and fails, has a go and fails, and then maybe the fourth time you get it right, and you just chip away at it, and you have to like it enough for its own sake, otherwise it's too frustrating. And that's what it will get into. It's really the resilience and the determination, and you only get that if you actually enjoy it.
Yeah. So it's very.
I'll just say one other point. Often when people when software companies are looking for people, particularly when they don't have a lot of experience, they're really looking for evidence or signals that you're that kind of person. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the skills that they do. They're looking for a certain kind of personality and a certain kind of enjoyment of the job, and just a certain kind of track record, maybe in other projects that you've done, that kind of indicate you're that kind of person.
So I suppose that's where those soft skills come in that we'd spoken about, do they think you'll fit in with the team? Are you determined? Are you passionate? So
exactly.
Yeah, all interesting stuff. I tell you what, today in the Creating Careers studio, we could do with some of your lighting skills, because for some reason it's been raining all week, and when I've clicked record, the sun's decided to blare in on me. So sorry about that. I look a bit strange, but it might be an improvement to some. So I've got a question here from a student about gaming. It says, I'm really good at gaming. What can I do to get a job doing this or involved in that area?
Absolutely no idea whatsoever. I'm not a gamer. I'm one of the few programmers who doesn't play games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm that outlier. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like the guy who reads books on economics to chill out. It's weird. I know, it's really weird. No, I'm not a gamer. I don't really like science fiction films either. That is really odd in software, honestly. Honestly, The Big Bang Theory, there's a lot of truth to that. I'll not be. I'd say I'm closer to Leonard myself, but some people would say Sheldon. No, what I would say about gaming, just off the top of my head, is that think about the skills that you need to be a gamer on YouTube, or possibly a Twitch streamer. I'm not super knowledgeable about Twitch streaming. Think of all those skills you need to set up a good quality live stream, right? So there's some of the skills you've got here. So you need to be able to set up the cameras. There's a guy who I follow called Alpha Streaming. He focuses more on the streaming aspect of the tech rather than the gaming, but he has his own Twitch channel, which I don't watch because I'm clueless about that. But again, it comes back to that thing I was saying. If you think about all of those skills that you need to do that, to set up to set up a good live streaming rig or whatever, how to light it, how to make it look cool, how to edit those playthrough videos that you kids seem to like. They're all skills which are, again, transferable to that dull job, which could be your entry level job. And because it's your entry level job, that gives you that little bit of experience of the workplace. That means after a year, you can move on and start going for more ambitious things, which maybe lean a little bit more towards you want. But in terms of sort of like esports gamers and that kind of thing, I'm not the guy to ask for that yet.
Yeah, I like that yet.
Well, no. I think it's a brilliant mark.
Yeah.
You think of all those business people who are trapped at home, right? And increasingly they're going to have to, once the economy slows down, they're going to have to get out there and sort of like pitch and sort of like sell to the world what they want. And I'm sorry, like a YouTube video where someone's kind of bearing down on you like that with light like Leslie's. That's not going to be. Do you think that's going to beat this as a sales pitch?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Decent microphone and all that. So all of those skills that you can use as a Twitch streamer. Okay, you're not doing your gaming thing, but you can pay the bills. And if you can pay the bills with the thing that you love, then that gives you opportunities to work on it, turn it into craft, and try and turn it into something that you can have some kind of business angle on. It might be that you have to do it independently, because it is quite an independent thing. It is fairly entrepreneurial, these kind of things. But if you can pay the bills with those skills, then that gives you much more of a path towards other things.
So I think you've given a really good insight to students about, routine, skills needed, all the tech, that you've got going on, and, future jobs. So it's been a really great session. Just to finish off quickly, we've got one more question from a student. What is the most impressive technical trick that you can do?
Technical trick?
Yeah, with I suppose with tech. With tech, what's the most impressive skill trick do you think you can do on the computer, or with your camera wizardry?
That is a strange question.
Oh, I think for the first time we've stumped you, Chris.
No, he hasn't. No, the stuff I like doing, which tends to be harder for most people, right, is and anybody who's ever met me and had a conversation with me will know I have a tendency to meander, right? And part of that reason is because I like seeing things in systems. I like how the dots fit together as much as the actual dots themselves. So it's not really a trick, but it's the ability, which is the thing that often makes me stand out in the workplace, is the ability to integrate systems, to understand how that bit over there, that weird bit of data that's on some mainframe, ancient computer, they don't really have mainframes anymore except in banks, but it's on some ancient system over there that hasn't been updated for 20 years. So to get that system out and get it halfway around the world over into this quite modern system and bounce through a couple of systems and update them at the same time, that's the kind of thing that I like doing. Lots of developers can do it, but that tends to be my specialism, of getting things from one area to another. It's more joining the dots than the dots themselves.
Oh, well, that's great. Thanks very much, Chris, for today. I really, really appreciate you coming on. So,
okay.
Students at home, don't forget to check out our website, growthplatform.org/talent/careers hub. There you'll find latest Creating Careers timetables. You'll find all the sessions throughout the week that will become on demand, and all the student resources, including resources for today's sessions, and Chris's supplementary notes will all be on there. If you have got more questions for Chris, please send them into our website, careershub@growthplatform.org, and we'll put them to Chris and get them answered for you. Thanks for joining today. Thanks, Chris.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye.